Great. Well, welcome everyone. Today we will chat about dashboards, one of the favorite topics here at SmartSuite. And there's many reasons why. So for some of you may be big believers in dashboards, using SmartSuite dashboards. For others, maybe you realize the functionality exists and you're keen to understand why you should use it more. So quick intro, I'm Rick Palea. I lead the customer organization here at SmartSuite. And I'm joined today by two, I debated calling you all this, but you're amazing with dashboards. So our dashboard divas, they bring the glitz and the glam. They're going to show you some very cool things today. And that's Preston Gillum and Emma Montgomery. So I'll pass it over to them here shortly. Key thing that I like to call out when it comes to dashboards and how SmartSuite dashboards are different. Everyone says their capabilities are different, but the standard dashboard with any tool, you're typically using it for reporting or to understand insights or information from some piece of your business. Because of the way SmartSuite dashboards are built and how dynamic they are, it's really meant to be an interactive portal for you to do your work there in the spot. So we'll give you some tips here today on understanding who you're building for, building dynamic dashboards that can house the work and keep people focused in one place, to be able to pull data from various spots so you can understand different pieces of the business to make the best decisions right there in the dashboard. So we'll unpack all that today, and you'll see some really cool examples of dashboards in action, the art of the possible, if you will. Last housekeeping here. We do like to keep things interactive here. Otherwise, we could just record this and send this to you all. And this will be recorded, but that's not why you're investing the time here. You're investing the time because you want to engage. Maybe you have some questions. You want to absorb some things that you can use today and put to work. So please keep the chat lively. All right. We'd like to know where y'all are from. And the best way to engage. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A as opposed to stacking it up in the chat. And also, I love the reactions on Zoom. Down at the bottom, you see that little heart icon. This shows Emma and Preston that you're following along, you're engaging, you're liking what you're seeing. So it gives us a really good sense that we're on point and targeting the things that you're interested in. So let's keep it engaged throughout. And with that, I will pass it over to Preston.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Rick. As a short introduction, my name is Preston Gillum. I'm our GRC product manager, so I deal with a lot of clients and demonstrations around GRC processes, ITSM processes, business continuity processes. So if any of that is not alphabet soup to you, you'll relate to that. But I'm going to start off with some inspiration. We want to kick this off with some examples of dashboards that show good representation of how data can be used, how, like Rick was saying, portals can be used, how we're making it very user-friendly, but also intuitive in terms of what do you need to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, what are those metrics, what's really truly helping you with your processes and insight into your program within SmartSuite. So I'm going to kick off with that. I'm going to show 3 different examples from 3 different areas and work streams, and then Emma is going to go into some more details, some tips and tricks, and also show you some more examples of some really cool dashboards she's built as well. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. So I've just shared my screen. We are hitting it off strong with starting right on a dashboard. So this specific example is going to be around IT service management. And even if you don't work in IT service management, most everyone on here has submitted a ticket request or had a computer issue or had to deal with a request in general, maybe to the business or to a technical team. And so that's what this dashboard and these examples are going to represent. We have 2 different user types. We have general employees at your organization, employees that are working on their company computers or company hardware. And then we have an IT team who's actually going to work those tickets, help with those issues, help with new access, and help kind of funnel those and work those ticket requests. And so that's where we're landing right here. This first item up here is that employee portal. So servicing the employees, servicing the entire organization. So this can be a large organization, this can be a smaller organization, really just tailoring information straight from a dashboard that's easy to consume, easy to navigate for these users. And so we have a couple tabs up here that I'm going to walk through and talk about how this is purpose built for this interaction. So we're utilizing this not only to collect ticket requests, but also as a training space, also as a knowledge base. And so how can we consolidate all of this in one area to be interactive and user-friendly? This first tab right here is going to direct the purpose of this, which is the ticket submissions. And so welcome to your IT services portal, where we have set this up for the employees, and they can come in here and they can submit a request. And so there's different types of requests, right? We've all been there before, whether something is broken, my screen's not working, there's some hardware services, maybe there's some software services within here, access things. So right down here, we're just giving quick information to this employee, letting them know, hey, what can you submit an IT ticket for? How can we help serve you in this portal? We also have a button right here, an action button, so you can put buttons on a dashboard to quickly navigate to different items. This specific one is going to open up a form, which is how we're going to collect this ticket information. So another SmartSuite functionality I definitely recommend exploring is these forms, which is going to help us collect data from non-users, so users even out of SmartSuite. So for example, they can fill out this form, submit it, and that pulls back into SmartSuite for the IT team to work. So that's one example of what a button can do. You can embed a URL in there. You can embed different action items. Sometimes we have clients put like contact us in there or navigate me to our help documentation, things like that. So you can have a bunch of buttons up here that are really directing the user in terms of where do I need to go and what do I have access to at my fingertips. The next tab within here is just a status on those requests. So if they're a user within SmartSuite, they can come in here and they can see, okay, how many requests have I submitted? How many are open? I can even scroll down and see those details and see and click into those and see further. So not only giving them a place to submit those, but also to really quickly hone in on what is within the portal that they've submitted and can they see the status of those. These next two I really, really like, and I think sometimes are unknown, but really, really helpful to organizations. One of them is training videos or videos in general. If you want a training center where you have maybe compliance training or knowledge training or privacy training or different types of videos, maybe just for work streams or different job descriptions, you can actually embed these videos onto a dashboard. So this widget type is a video widget type, and you just drop the URL in there or the access within there, and then they can see these and navigate through these videos straight from the dashboard. So a really helpful place to have in conjunction with maybe IT requests or other things that employees are needing to regularly go to is things like videos in here to give them insight into other things that may need their attention. In addition to that is general knowledge base. You may have videos, but you may just have documentation, or you may want to do an FAQ. So in addition to this dashboard for these requests, we have a knowledge base within here. So helping the employee know, okay, what is this portal for? It can be general to the system. So helping them, what is the system? What is this SmartSuite solution doing? How can we help you navigate it? Or it can just be general about your company. How, where do my policies live? How do I navigate to those? Do I need any help from an HR perspective? And so you can utilize this FAQ widget type to put in any type of customized questions in here to give them a really quick and easy way to find information at your organization. The final thing is feedback. So just another way we're utilizing forms, and you can actually, instead of a button, you can have them straight within a dashboard. A lot of times clients like to collect feedback, and so this is an example where they can do a feedback form straight from a dashboard. All right, so the view of a portal that is purpose-built for a specific user set or a specific group of people, these employees, the employees at your organization, typically a large subset of people. And so they can land on here, they can submit their tickets, they can review training videos, they can access the knowledge base, and they can submit feedback. But once these are submitted, there's a different perspective of users that needs to work these tickets. And so then we have the IT team portal. So within a solution, we're still within a single solution. You can have multiple dashboards that have multiple different purpose-driven approaches. And so we have one for the employees, very easy to navigate, giving them information about the portal within there. And now we have one for the IT team where they can actually work those tickets. They can see those come into their queue from that form they were submitted within here, and then they can go and work those tickets. They can assign them out to different users within here. And then also they can capture any metrics or analytics against those in terms of how long did it take us to respond? How many times do we have to reopen a ticket? Service efficiency metrics, things like that. So just different perspectives on how these different portals or different dashboards can serve different users within here. I'm going to transition now to another dashboard, one that is tailored to branding, because I think that's really, really valuable and we want this tool to look like yours. And so I'm going to transition to branding here. Rick, you let me know, pause me, let me know if there's any questions we want to stop for or anything you want to call out. Otherwise, I'll keep heading down this path.
Will do. Yeah, keep rolling.
All right, sounds good. So this next dashboard is a POC that we did for a prospective client in here. And so you can see that this looks completely different than the last dashboard. And so we're seeing color, we're seeing brand within here. And so something we really encourage our clients and prospects to do as they're adventuring into SmartSuite is to make it look like you, make it feel like you, make it look like you, add your colors in here. We're really dynamic in how you can customize the look and feel in here. And so being able to present that not only from a user-friendly approach, but also a relatable approach really helps with the adoption. Because if we're going to a new software, whether we're coming from manual or another system, we want that adoption to be seamless by making it look familiar, but also stickiness. It can stay. It's your tool. You get to customize it to your processes. You get to build these dashboards for your value and benefit. And so adding in that extra layer of branding and colors, I think really is helpful for those two value points. So this specific dashboard or this specific purpose is from a risk perspective. And so this client or this prospect was wanting to present risk information to different user types, and they wanted it to be familiar. So we put their brand in here, we put their logo in here, we made it look familiar. Down here is another way we can utilize FAQs or initial information. So we have those within here. This is specific to them. And so we've tailored that and customized FAQs for the purpose of this dashboard. If we scroll down or move to the next tab, we can then see the information that is applicable. They're wanting to communicate risk information out. So we have a lot of metrics and widgets within here that are displaying that information. We also have their criteria. So if you have documentation you're wanting to include, you can do that as well, in addition to a getting started within here where you can put more of that documentation. One thing I want to highlight in here is the difference of these views. So right now we're in an executive overview. They're wanting to see high level. They want to see red, yellow, green. If any of you have put together reports for executives, you know how concise and how direct those need to be. This is purpose built for them versus leadership may need to see some different things. We're still keeping that branding specific and consistent, but they're seeing different types of reports, different types of information in here in terms of what's applicable to them versus a responder who's just coming in here and they're just filling out their assessments. They don't need to see a high-level overview. That information isn't even available to them given permissions. And so we can see these different view types. Something I'll highlight. Yeah.
Real quick, Preston, just you're hitting on something I think is so critical here, and that's going back to the notion that dashboards are built for different stakeholders, different users, and those users are at different levels, right? So there's dashboards for people that are doing the work, right? There's dashboards for people that are managing the work, let's say a layer above, and then there's dashboards for executives. And what we're commonly seeing with these executive dashboards is the value of being able to share these with executives. Yes, ideally you're bringing them into SmartSuite, but at a minimum, they need the visibility on what's happening here. So if you could just highlight that feature, I think it's an often neglected one, Preston, just the shareability and the security that can come around the sharing of dashboards.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really applicable here. We're just talking about executives and giving them quick information that's applicable to what they need to see. And so we've put together this beautiful dashboard. We put the reports on here. It has all the information we want. And now we have the ability to share this dashboard out. And so I can click this icon up here to share it. I can customize what this link is going to entail. Can they open the records? Can they see all the fields? Can they use the toolbar to filter? Do you want to restrict it with a passcode? You can designate all those specifics within there. Once you do that, you can toggle this on that this is a shareable dashboard, and then you can share it with a link. So maybe this is sent in an email to the executives, or you can embed it on an intranet. And so allowing it to be secure within an intranet or being safeguarded with that passcode or within those IP limitations allows it to be more secured while still being able to utilize this data to be shared with users who may not have access to SmartSuite or executives that don't want to log in and see this information. We want to make it really easy for them. And so we've embedded it, we've shared the link directly, and now when they click on that link or embedded item or button, they can see this view. So you'll see it's very similar. We're seeing the same view. I can't go, don't have access within SmartSuite. So this is applicable for non-SmartSuite users. They do not have to have a user account, but they can still see this information. They can still see the FAQs and interact with those. They can still see the risk items, but as you can see, I can't click into any of these and see the data underneath because one, it may not be applicable, and two, we're just sharing them a quick snapshot. Another key thing about the shared dashboards is it is real-time data. So you do not have to regenerate this link or resend out this link or re-update that embedded code every single time an update has changed. As the data is being changed and worked and processed inside of SmartSuite, maybe these risk levels change, it'll be reflected live on this dashboard. So if it changes from Monday to Friday, the same executive can come in here, click on that same link on Friday, and they will get that updated information. All right, I have one more, and then I'm gonna stop chatting and pass it over to Emma, but I have one more thing I wanna highlight that is another cool thing we can have on a dashboard. So this last tab, I'm going into a third use case. This is GRC specific or risk specific. So this is for the Cyber Risk Institute compliance. This is a regulation that has been, or framework, excuse me, that has been developed for compliance against cyber protocols. And so we are an innovator for the CRI. So we have built a solution purpose-built for companies being compliant with those diagnostic statements and references. And so none of that is super applicable. If none of that means anything to you, that's totally fine. I'm going to talk about something that can be applicable for you. So within this solution, we have had a similar approach where we have just overall process and program dashboards in here giving quick information about this solution. And then we have user specific dashboards. So we have a dashboard for the assessor, and then we have a dashboard for the responder as well. So what does different users need to see their overall managing an assessment versus if they're coming in here and they just need to know, hey, what's assigned to me? How many things do I got to do? And then they can come in here and actually do their work from the dashboard. But one thing, which is a cool tip and trick that I want to show, is being able to layer AI on top of these dashboards. And so if I go back to my first one and I go to our CRI Copilot, this is our CRI Copilot, like a chatbot that we have embedded on a dashboard within here. And so the CRI Profile Assistant has been interlinked with all the tables so that can be applicable to any dashboard and relate to any of the data elements within here. So this CRI Copilot knows about all the data within here and then allows you to queue up questions and get results from it. So I have a couple within here. I'm not going to type and talk because I'm not that skilled. I'm just going to put ones in here. So for example, I'm asking a question that I need to know about different CRI profile references that are applicable for specifically vendor management. You can see it's thinking. If any of you have interacted with like a ChatGPT, for example, it's going to be similar to that, and it's going to start pulling those items. So if I've just asked it for specific statements related to vendor management, and it's given me that specific information and data. I could ask it another question and say, okay, give me the top 5 items that are associated with the Cyber Risk Institute. And now it's going to do its thinking and it's going to give me those results. So this is really helpful. Maybe if you want to do gap analysis, give me the top 10 risk items, give me the top 10 project tasks at risks, give me an overview, things like that, querying up this data. And so you can layer this on top of a dashboard and interact with it. Something also as well is permissions will follow you in this. And so if different people have different permissions within this solution, this will reflect and be able to spit out information that's applicable to those as well. So you can see I asked it for the top 5 most frequently referenced. It gave me that top 5 list by referencing the items we have associated up here within the tables of data. All right, so that's my long-winded inspiration pitch. I hope this was helpful. We wanted to start with what is art of the possible, what are some cool things we can do from a portal perspective, from a branding perspective, and then even layering AI and having some neat tips and tricks along here as well. And so hopefully this kind of got wheels rolling about some ways that you may want to display or customize your dashboards. But most importantly, Emma is going to give some actual hands-on examples of how you can do that and equip you so that you're ready to do that after this webinar. So Emma, I will stop sharing and pass it over to you.
Thank you, Preston. Can you see my screen okay? Should be staying. building a dashboard in SmartSuite?
We see that.
Sees
Let me try again. Better?
There we go. We're in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Preston. I'm going to take a step back and highlight 10 principles that I have found most successful in building these high impact dashboards for your team, for your executives, for your stakeholders. And then I will put all of these into context and dive a little bit more into detail on how to build these, how to strategize, and highlight specific recommendations for setting these up. First step, and I'll be very brief about this, because we want to get right back into those dashboards, is to define your audience. So Preston talked a lot about tailoring dashboards for clarity on who's looking at it. A lot of times I see companies build wonderful dashboards with a lot of great data, but it doesn't mean it's not relevant to particular people looking at it. So focusing on the audience will really help you tailor the scope in detail accordingly. The second is understanding the data story. What story does this dashboard need to tell? Understanding aspects or missing links within your company can help you demonstrate a narrative. And even a lot of times companies will come to find that they're seeing data within their organization that they had never before because it wasn't clearly outlined in a dashboard for themselves to see. Step 3 would be identify key questions or insights that you're trying to answer. An example would be what's overdue? What are the risks? Proactively seeing data within your organization so you can make decisions and guide data selection and design around that. Mapping role-based needs, so having tailored specific dashboards to the people looking at them instead of trying to make one dashboard for everyone. And even following a tab focus that helps you reflect workflow stages and provides more of a workflow hub versus a place for people to view and access information. Then I'll go into selecting the right widgets. So recommendations of, we have many widget types. So I'm going to provide recommendations for how to select widgets, which widgets and the purpose of each, and maybe some ones that you haven't used before that are really powerful. Organizing your outlook for clarity. So prioritizing critical information at the top, allowing you to balance different widgets, avoiding clutter, and focusing a lot on the design element for function. Preston mentioned the ability to brand and style this to your organization. So we want the dashboard to feel like a place of your companies. We want the dashboard to highlight what matters, not over decorate the dashboard, and keep it very professional for the audience. Allowing people to understand frequently asked questions and overviews so they understand how to use this workflow hub that you've created. So having a specific tab for FAQs and instructions to help people use what you built. In refining these dashboards, it's so easy to customize and update them on a regular basis. So highly recommend that once you build these, you get feedback from the people using the dashboards. So you continue to iterate and make them better. And lastly, being able to share this live data at your fingertips. Every single dashboard that you create within your organization inherits the permissions. So if you give a particular individual permissions at a particular solution or even field level, all of those permissions will be inherited. So one, people can see what they need to, and two, if you share that data in real time, it'll always update in that way. So I will dive into a couple examples here. First one being a sales and inventory management hub. So this organization was using different spreadsheets. They had their sales team in one tool and they had their inventory in another. So this collaborative hub, and we'll dive straight into the sales team. And I'm going to walk through each of these components within the dashboard so we can start to understand behind the curtain how this was set up. If you haven't built a dashboard before, it's just a view type, and you can easily select create a new view at the bottom here and select dashboard. And it's actually going to present you with a clean slate or canvas for you to begin building. Everything is designed in the form of what we call widgets. So if you click on add widget, you'll notice the variety of different options will pop up on the top here. The first one being page display. We have, and I will show relevant examples to you of each, displaying records or data points within your company without having to go to the source of data. We have actions. So these are not just standalone pages. These are dashboards that you can perform specific actions on and interact with. You can display metrics. You can pull in different views that you're accustomed to working with within different tables, charts, videos, and so much more. And I'll be highlighting these as I go through. We'll dive right into the opportunities in the sales tab. So when I'm thinking about structuring initial dashboards, I start to think of the data story. So in this case, this is a dashboard for a high-level sales team. So right off the bat, we want to understand the opportunities in sales in the pipeline. So presenting the first tab or the second tab, with being that we can begin to use the different elements. So it's most common and useful to have, what is this dashboard? What is the story of this dashboard? And having a heading, and we call this the simple banner widget. So a couple options for designing the top. If you are looking to have an image and a title next to an image, you can use a hero widget, and I have an example of that as well. But for simplicity, you can use what we call a simple banner. And this allows us to put a more bold heading and a description below it. A little bit of advice here, I highly recommend that you use H1 for the heading, and then you can use we have a lot of different styles of text and headings and different sizes for the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. I used extra large text for the description below. As far as styling, not only can you upload custom images, but we have an image library that you can choose images from. So anytime you upload an image within this particular solution, it will save this in an asset library. So solution images means which images are you using within this particular workflow solution. You can store brand images. So as you're creating new dashboards within your organization, individuals know and have a selection of images for the company's branding. Another great resource is our searching for an image. So you could come in and search for, if I was looking for manufacturing design, I could come in and type that in, and it would pull up a variety of different images for me to select. And a listing of popular images will give you more of a simple design background. So I've selected this to match the solution branding, but we have some selections for you to choose from that also look very nice. And then lastly, if you are looking to create an image with AI, you can enter a short description and it will generate in just a minute. You can select from banner, image, or portrait, and if you click generate, it will perform that action for you. Another thing to think about is when you upload an image, you can organize the image fit. So depending on the size of the image, you can use these different toggles to see what looks best. You can also control how large and how small that padding is. And then if you want to have it fixed or full width. Typically, I would recommend full width, especially for this case if you're using a banner like this. And then lastly, if you want to add action buttons. So for example, if I wanted to add a button to create a new quote, which I have in another tab, you could select add button. And this provides you the ability to title that button, change the color, have it go to a URL, or even more technically, you could have it run a script, put the URL, and then determine if you want it to go into a new tab like this. And really focusing on the design element, colors being uniformed is very important. So if I have a darker background, putting a lighter button will be more noticeable and look nicer. Close out of that. So next we have what we call a heading. So this helps you organize different information within this particular tab. So this is my overall pipeline, but then I want to start to begin to organize different groupings of widgets. So I can use what I call a heading. And a heading allows you to, similar to the banner, you have the ability to adjust the sizing. You can center it, and you can also add a description. So rather than putting together a series of different widgets, allowing the user to understand what this information is can help with user adoption for these dashboards. Next, we have, and I highly recommend also having summary cards within a variety of your different dashboards because it gives you a snapshot of the information you're trying to show. So these are all summary cards, custom by color. And these summary cards are not only customizable off the beginning. So if I go to create a summary card, you can name it, you can enter a static value, but most commonly we would use a dynamic value because we can pull data from particular sources. So when you go to pull data from particular widgets, you'll notice that the data is not just within the particular solution that you're looking at. You can pull data from any solution across your entire workspace. So that's a very unique and powerful feature within SmartSuite. And then you begin to filter data so you can get the relevant information. So here I have it filtered by where the stage is new. And that will always pull the status, the stage where that value is new. These summary cards are also interactive and you can click right into the particular value. So rather than having to go into my views and access opportunities and find which ones are new, I will always be guaranteed that I can click into here and you can real-time access the data. Not only can you view the data, but you can organize it in a way you would particular views. So I could come in and select what particular fields are important for me to see when I open up that record. And in addition, you can dive a layer deeper and you can actually go drill into each new opportunity like this. Below here, we have a very, very powerful widget called the filter widget. And the reason why this is so useful is because it allows you to filter not one, but any widgets you want, or a selection or grouping of widgets. So we do have filters within grid views and they act very similarly. But when you go to create one, I go into edit mode. You again define the source and then you start to link widgets. So right now I have it linked to my pipeline, but I can actually start to link it to my other widgets. So as I change this filter, not only will it change that one in the beginning, but it will actually reflect the entire dashboard itself. So an example could be if you have a particular sales rep associated with these opportunities and the different widgets. If you filter to Emma, for example, it would filter every single widget to that particular sales rep. And in the filters tab, this is where you would define the dynamic filters that will be displayed. So customer type would be one, assigned sales rep, lead source, just to name a few. And if you click on add filter here, it will present you with all of the options that you can use and filter by. Something I would recommend is always labeling, having a title for these particular widgets, and even having a description to help guide the users on how to use this filter, what does it do, and what the data is reflecting. So providing a description of using this filter to filter by these items, use the filter below, and explaining what this filter does. So if I am using this filter, I can select, for example, assign sales rep. If I select myself, I will only see my pipeline like this. This right here is what we call a grid view widget. So many of you are probably familiar with our grid view widget type. Allowing you to embed it in a dashboard allows for clear customization, and it's also a lot cleaner to embed, and you can embed multiple, either side by side or on top of each other. But again, using help text below, so using the filter above to filter opportunity by type, by sales rep, helps guide the user on what to do with these particular widgets. And again, these are all inline edit. So I could come in and select a particular opportunity and it would show that information at a glance. I could even come in and create a new one with this button here. You can, in addition, use charts within your dashboards. So either pre-set up charts that you've established as views on the side here, or you can actually build charts directly within the dashboard. So if you go into the chart section, there's a lot of different chart options for you to use. And I typically recommend grouping them together, having charts side by side. You could do two on top of each other on each, so 4 together. And the beauty of this is you can customize exactly the way that these are laid out. So if I wanted to add in addition a chart here, that would look nice. And you can determine based on what you're looking to see the type of chart. So if I wanted to edit, and it doesn't matter what type you want, you can always go back and forth. If I went to edit here, I could easily change the chart type to a pie chart if I prefer. I would select the value that I want. So this is opportunities by lead source. I could select that, and then I would be able to save. And it updates in real time like this. Here we are working with another heading and summary card widgets. So we're helping the team understand the top 10 quotes to close. And we are filtering these out by particular values. So quote estimates, along with an additional grid view here and chart. Next, I'm going to go into the inventory dashboard, starting with overview. So again, we have a banner widget here. I'll go back into edit and view mode. We have a simple banner widget with a button that can link to, in this case, a particular form, and then frequently asked questions, as well as and this is where you can begin to use either text area or hero widgets. If you want a logo or image at the top, using a hero widget is helpful because you can actually design the way that the layout. So you could have an image side by side. If there was a larger image, you could put it here. And right now I have this logo at the top to feel more like a memo. So organizing these into sections, numerical values, bullet points, that can help provide more of a document layer on top. If I go into inventory and procurement, we can begin to see initially high-level view what's happening within the organization. So the reason why this was important for the company is they would have orders placed and they realized their inventory was not in stock and they didn't know how to prioritize these orders. So creating a very simple view to understand what is below restock level, what's low stock, and what's sufficient allowed them to make decisions about their company in this case. Utilizing the filter widget is important as well for this because they could drill into the inventory details and understand information like stock available and the floor level that will then trigger that automation. Another example of having summary cards for not only status fields, but quantity fields. So in this case, this is a numerical value, understanding the total order quantity in the procurement process. So colors and themes are very important. I've actually matched the color of the summary card based on the status for uniform. So that's kind of how our brain works. If we're used to seeing a certain color in a status, it can help you identify it very quickly in the widget for each backordered in transit. And then next we have two charts here, and I do want to highlight something very important within each chart widget is what we call the dynamic filter. So not only can we set filters on other widget types, but we can actually create a dynamic filter within a chart. For example, if we have order deliveries over time, I can come in and select this week, last 3 months, and all these different options within the chart widget here. Again, these are all clickable to see the data in real time. In the fulfillment tab, I begin to use some different widget types. So this particular tab was used for the warehouse to organize fulfillment, see fulfillment, and then interact with the order fulfillment. So I have embedded a form. So if you haven't embedded a form before, interested in using it, you can use the custom code widget to either embed the URL, which can be found from the shared form link, or you can embed HTML code. Both will work. I use the embedded URL most often because if you want it to be white and not cut off and scroll like this, it's more effective. And then using text blocks next to the form can help the user understand what the purpose of the form is, directions, anything you would do like that. So when this individual fills out this form, it creates a particular warehouse fulfillment item. And this allows it to pop up right on their dashboard. So the cohesiveness and the ordering and the process is important. So they start off with the new fulfillment entry, and then it pops up in their queue here for them to then interact with this dashboard. So as they go through each order, they could check off these boxes within the warehouse, and it would then allow them to begin that fulfillment. This is a very important widget type, and it's one of my favorites, and I think it's often overlooked, but one of the most powerful ones is the combination of the record selector and the record details. So a record is just an item within your particular table. So for example, it could be a project, it could be an opportunity, it could be assessment. Allowing you to click on a particular record and displaying all of the details that are important for you to visualize at a glance is quite powerful. So as you notice, I am right here selecting or searching for a fulfillment item. And in the record details, it is representing and showing all the particular fields that I've specified to display. And if we dive into the record details, we have the ability to customize this as I have. So you would select the source. In this case, it would be that selector field or widget that I've selected here. In the Fields tab, you can customize not only the ordering, but the particular fields that you are selecting to show. So in this widget, in this fulfillment details widget, I'm showing information about the fulfillment. So I've selected the status, the warehouse staff. I've actually included a linked record to the actual order that's associated with the fulfillment details. And all of this is drag and drop interface, so you can customize the display as you would in the open record view as well. In addition, you can also customize the background. I have a style with the background already, a lighter pink, so I'm going to keep this one white. And in the other interesting thing about the record selector and record details is you can have multiple record details referencing the same record selector. So as you've seen, as I select different values, the same record detail or the same record is showing an additional record detail widget. So as I begin to make changes, it's updating the same exact record that I've selected at the top here, but providing a more user-friendly way of having a checklist item toggle with yes or no fields, as well as the display on the left-hand side. And then lastly, on the last tab here, we have a guide. So really important for helping users understand how to use this inventory fulfillment hub are directions on how to use it here. Before I jump to a project management dashboard and go through those, does anyone have any questions? Or do you see anything coming in?
I see some product specific questions, but let's keep rolling and I'll weave it all back in at the end.
Sure. Okay. So here is a project management, and I'll show you the couple role specific dashboards. So if we have a project request instance, so it's all coming in through a form. Speaking of workflow hubs, using these dashboards as your workflow was very beneficial for this team. So starting with the project request, when someone submits this form, it goes into the queue and they can access their requests here. They can see the project request they submitted, which ones require their action, approved or denied. And then using this interactive filter to then begin to view their requests and access them easily. We've also included a project request details, so before they can select from the record selector and see the information about the particular project request. This then moves into the project team dashboard. So there are individuals responsible for approving these projects. So in the My Approvals tab, we can then see the projects that are needing approval. So similar setup, I tried to keep it as uniform as possible to the other project portals, having a widget here for the record details, along with the record selector. So in addition to using the record selector and details, you can use it in combination with an interactive filter. So if I were to come in and if this was a project team dashboard, but I only wanted to see the particular requests that are needing to be approved by myself, I could come in, or if I was managing a project team, I could come in and see the particular request that Emma is needing to approve. So I would always show up as the approver. Here, I also have a record details associated with this particular record selector. So in this case, there needed to be a place for the individual to provide a change request action item needed. So what the purpose of this is a text field that allows me to make a comment and then interact with the data and change the status to changes required, which would then trigger and put it back in the project requester's queue. If you're managing projects, you can see high level the status here, and we are utilizing spotlights within this grid view widget to bring particular records to the attention of the user. So in this case, we're highlighting projects that are at risk. It's using our spotlight feature in the grid view. And then in addition, another widget that can be very helpful for project management or high level requests. If you are interested in calendar views, we do have a newer version of the calendar view widget. I would say it's one of the newer widgets we've added. And in this case, we've selected the particular date that we want to display on the calendar. So you can select any date field that you have within that particular table, and then you can begin to filter and group and spotlight based on that. Going to go briefly into the PMO dashboard tab. So we have two role-based dashboards. This one is a higher level view for more of an executive eye, the stakeholder eye, viewing projects at a high level. So if I go into this tab here, projects, a lot of times people will be managing their projects, they'll know the information about the projects, but providing a high level view of what's going on in the project ecosystem of the company can be very beneficial. So being able to see the projects that are over budget and drill into these projects. And here I've created a custom view within, and it's very similar to the grid view, but it allows me to understand. So I have it grouped by budget utilization. So seeing that these items are, this healthcare facility, Healing Garden, is 85% of the budget utilization. Being able to see individual items or fields. So here's the actual spent versus the budget and the budget variance right within that summary card. And you'll notice the designs are a little bit different here. So these are actually both summary card widgets. There is the ability to customize the sizing of them as well as the appearance. So if I wanted to make this smaller, I could do that. I can make it large or medium. I selected medium in this case. But you'll notice that the top widgets are using modern design, and the classic widget, the bottom row, is using the classic one. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, these ones on red were at the forefront. They need to be most noticeable because they're red flags within the project workflow. But then below we have the statuses, which are the classic style, to make it a little more subtle, but still flow with the rest of it. All of these colors, so I've customized the colors of each of these based on the status, but you can also customize the color of your charts as well. So in this case, I have a blue, but I could come in and change the color of this chart value as well, like this. And then a project pipeline. So here I'm using an interactive filter widget, and I'm using what we call a card view widget to show more of a pipeline view. This is grouped by stage, so I can see the pipeline of projects. I can, of course, drill into the projects. And if you haven't used record tabs before, I highly recommend that you look at this new release feature, because it allows you to group your workflow into a layout. Each record can have a grouping of different fields that allow you to organize this record view in a way that you haven't been able to before. And then followed by a project details widget. So selecting projects and being able to see the details on the right-hand side here. Those are very workflow, high-level focused. This one is an oversight of all the projects. And maybe we want to, what we would assume a dashboard would be, organize KPIs or visualizations about the particular process. So here we have more metric data focused widgets describing the budget variance, active project spend, and the average budget variance, and then starting to understand trends about the budget. So organizing them into static, qualitative metrics, quantitative metrics, and then overall KPIs. Depending on who's looking at the dashboard, they can select what tabs are important to them. One more thing I wanted to show is more of the design element opportunities you have within dashboards. So we looked on a lot of metrics and grid views and pipelines and all sorts of things, but another wonderful thing about dashboards is the ability to show images. So in this case, we're looking at a real estate portfolio solution, and we're within the portfolio tab. We've used a simple banner at the top, and we've used the record selector with the record details. But you'll notice there's a lot of customization for how we display images. So in this case, we've selected within the widget, we've selected the ability to show the image, and we've determined what fields we want to show here. If I go into the record details, you'll notice that we have new display types for these images. So if I go into the edit settings, style, or fields, in this gear here, we now have the option to display in a field format or a carousel format, and the number of images per row, and of course the sizing of them. This is a newer feature to our dashboards, but it allows you to see images in a way you haven't before. This is what we call a card view widget, but this one here allows you to not only toggle between images, but if I were to select a particular property, these images would display in the record details widget here. Rick, do you have any questions?
It's an immense amount of functionality that you've showed there. There's some ongoing questions flowing in about any new features or additions. What else are we committed to from a dashboard standpoint? And I just wanted to be clear, there have been dozens and dozens of new enhancements over the last few months. Like, this is something we will continue to invest in. We have a pretty ambitious roadmap here. But some of those under the radar features that Emma was highlighting there at the end can be used just to create a much cleaner experience, more visually stimulating experience there. I will highlight a few here, and I see we're coming up, we've got about 7 minutes left. Ralya is asking, is there an easy way to create a time log dashboard? I know we've created sort of time tracking type dashboards in the past for customers. Is there anything visually that you can share, Emma? Anything that comes to mind?
Timeline, you said?
Time log dashboard, like a time tracking. I
Oh,
know.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yes. So if I go into tasks, the task table here, we can see a time tracking log. So within my project team dashboard, I have my tasks. And in this case, I would recommend using either a grid view widget or a record selector in details. So in this case, I could come in and type in a task and type in the log for the task. If I wanted to, I can build this right now. We could have the record selector associated with the task widget. So not only can we select from existing tasks, but we can actually provide the ability to create a new one. So if I, in addition, designed a record details associated and associated that particular source with that selector, so this would be time tracking, or I guess the time view. I could display fields that'd be important. So maybe owner, due date, and time tracking log. I'll just do those for now. And put it side by side. So I could track time for an existing task. I probably want a unique identifier, but I'd select time for a particular task, and I could enter that time here. If I wanted to add a new time entry, I could do that right here. So task 1, I can log in that time right next to it, and then it would pop up there like this.
It's awesome, Emma. Very clean. Hopefully that suffices, Ralia, but if there are additional questions you have on that, like, please do reach out to us. Jerry's asking about saw a section with a signature. Could you highlight that section? This was about 9 minutes ago.
Yes. I think that was in approvals. This one, I believe. Yeah, so this is our signature field type. So in this use case, if someone's requesting a project and the approver needs to sign off on it, I can dive into the request table so you can see where this came from. But this is our signature field type. We have the option to type in or sign off. And what I've done is I've just incorporated this signature field into that record detail to show for them to be able to sign off on the project.
Preston, I don't know if you have it handy, but there's I know there's a dashboard that has attestations, like sign-offs that pop up. If that's something that you want to pull up, would be really cool to share, because that sort of takes that to the next level. And while you're pulling that up, and there's been some questions here about roles and permissions for dashboards, specifically like creating views and what sort of permission capabilities do we have there?
On mute. Yeah, absolutely. Let me share. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I'm going to share my screen for this policy dashboard, something we often are collecting attestations and signatures for. And so I've landed within policies. We have a full list of policies within here on the dashboard. We can see like our clean desk policy. You know, we probably all heard of this. And so I can go in here and I can attest to this policy and open up that form where that signature field Emma was just talking about is being captured. And then pulling in that data back into SmartSuite, I can see a full view of all my attestations, what the signatures that are needed, and actually filter off that signature field that Emma just showed. So that was a high fly overview. There's a lot of really great functionality within the signature field, but want to touch on the permissions as well, because permissions follow you wherever you go. I know there was a question on this, and it's very important when we're displaying information. So we've talked about a shared dashboard where users, you can share that out to non-users, or that snapshot view, and you can restrict clicking into that. But when they're in SmartSuite and you want to allocate appropriate resources, or excuse me, appropriate access within here, you can do that one at the role level. So for any of your users where you want to go and control what their access is, you can go into workspace administration and you can allocate them the different roles that are appropriate. An account administrator is going to be able to create views and different widget types. So is a solution creator to the solutions that they're involved with. But you can have a general access or a guest who doesn't have that level of access. They cannot create those views within there. Additionally, you can control this on the solution level as we're talking about getting into specific fields, or excuse me, records, being able to filter what a user can see on the dashboard. So I can go to a specific, I'll just go back into my policy one. I can go in here and I can set permissions at this level, and I can control if they have full access, so they can create and edit content. They can only do it for things they're assigned to, or they're just viewing it. So if you land them on a dashboard in a solution where they're just a viewer, they can see that information, but they can't edit or create or comment on any of that information within there. So there's a lot more. This could probably be a whole nother webinar, and maybe we add that to our list of something else that we can talk about. But we do have resources in our help. If you go down here and go to help, I want to highlight this for dashboards also. If you click that toggle at the bottom and search for help, you can search for all kinds of things in here. So I know there was a question about dashboard for dummies, things like that. We have tons of resources in here in terms of getting you started, different widget types, how to create a dashboard, and then also same thing for permissions as well, in terms of how do we allocate those, how do we set those up, making sure people are seeing the correct information they need to see on a dashboard.
Love it. And there's some requests here for sharing of some of these demo solutions, some of these beautiful dashboards that have been built. So we'll see what we can share out perhaps in the follow-up email that y'all will get with the recording of this. Last two here. Do we have a few minutes of bonus time? Emma, Preston? Keep you on for a
Sure.
few more? Cool. All right, last two that I'll hit you with. Jimmy's asking, is there a way to attach a filter to a field that has a U-turn arrow icon using the filter widget?
A
U-turn
lookup,
arrow
probably a
icon.
lookup field.
Probably a lookup, yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, to a filter widget, to be able to filter by lookup. I think that's what he's asking.
Yes.
Not, lookups are not supported, but that they are on the roadmap to be supported
Mm,
in filtering.
got it. Question from Joseph. Could you please touch base on the best practice for labeling categories in a horizontal bar chart? And then just calling out, I know we've got some of our product folks on the line. Adrian here is asking about adding a note feature on the home profile or the home page, as she would like notes that aren't connected to a record. I know we've gotten this one before. I'm sure it's somewhere on the roadmap, but flagging that one. Thanks always, Adrian, for speaking up.
Okay, so if you are within a chart, if you scroll down to the bottom under advanced options, you do have the ability to show the x-axis, y-axis, as well as the show data labels. So in this case, we're counting tasks by due date. So enabling this here would allow you to see that. I believe that's what the question was.
Yeah, I think so. Wonderful. And the ability to put a label on there as well, right below, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. I think that will do it. Beautiful. All right. Lots of love in the chat. Emma and Preston, as always, thank you for digging in and sharing. And you're spending many hours each day innovating with customers on these dashboards. And there's just so much we can do. So we love to hear and we love to see the dashboards that you all are creating. So please feel free to reach out to your contacts here. If you want to show off things that you're working on, maybe you would like to put your dashboards in the limelight. We're all for it. So thanks everyone for investing the time with us today. Looking forward to seeing some beautiful dashboards in your workflows soon. Thanks all and enjoy the day. Take
Thanks,
care.
sir. Just really wanted to quickly highlight the upcoming events that we have. So if you go
Yes.
under help and resources, not only is this help from user guides to the help center to support, but if you scroll down towards the bottom here, you can view all of our upcoming webinars and workshops that we host. So from daily office hours to getting started, as well as the lineup of events that we have coming up here.
Wonderful. We'll see you all next week for Smarter Project Management. All right. Take care, y'all.